Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission today begins right in the middle of a global panic. Our listener has provided an incredible stack of material revolving around ancient immortals, sudden terrifying awakenings of raw power, and an extremely intense, high-stakes chase that has spanned continents and dropped our protagonist directly into the heart of Paris, France.
That's right. We are deep in the action immediately following an explosive escape from Ojai, California. We're unpacking a full-blown crisis involving Nicholas Flamel, the legendary alchemist who has gone to ground with two unsuspecting teenage American twins, Sophie and Josh Newman. These ordinary high schoolers have become central and now highly dangerous players in a conflict that pits immortal humans against ancient, terrifying dark elders.
The stakes couldn't be higher. We need to identify the key players, both the powerful, unexpected allies they find in Paris and the truly terrifying enemies pursuing them. But I think the most crucial part of this dive is grasping the startling breadth of magic these twins are suddenly wielding and, the chaos that power is bringing to the modern world.
It really is. The action is unfolding primarily across the winding streets, secret tunnels, and iconic landmarks of Paris. And this is juxtaposed so powerfully with the parallel and extremely tense story of Flamel's wife, Perenelle.
Right, who's trapped hundreds of miles away in the ghost-haunted, monster-filled prison of Alcatraz.
It truly is a race against time, biology, and geography. The formula for Flamel's immortality is wearing off. The twins are completely overwhelmed by borrowed power, and, the entire fate of the world hinges on whether they can survive long enough to be trained. So let's unpack how this relentless pursuit begins.
Okay, so our sources drop us right into the aftermath of the California escape. Flamel, Scatic, who is known as Scatty, or the Shadow, an ancient warrior, and the twins have just arrived in Paris via a mystical shortcut known as a Laygate. Now, we need to understand the mechanics here because these are far more than just fantasy doors.
Not at all. Flamel explicitly explains them as gateways that exist, where these invisible global lines of power, sometimes called cursus or ley lines, intersect with enough force to allow for instantaneous travel across the world.
So it's like a natural planetary energy grid.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is the geographical logistics of this ancient power versus the modern map. Ley gates are incredibly rare now. The majority of them have been closed or, destroyed over the millennia. But historically, the Elder race utilized them extensively. It was their primary method of travel to instantly cross vast distances.
Like an ancient high-speed rail system.
You could think of it that way, yeah. A system existing entirely outside of modern perception. But here's a great piece of character detail. Despite the immense convenience, Scatty, the ancient warrior, absolutely hates them.
Why? I mean, instantaneous travel sounds pretty good.
Well, she complains about being violently seasick. It emphasizes that even this kind of travel through these powerful energy conduits comes with some really uncomfortable, almost nauseating side effects. It's not a smooth ride.
Okay, so they emerge from this lee gate, which is disguised as a grimy, ordinary-looking mirror. And they're in a tiny, dusty storage room, maybe a janitor's closet, just piled with paint cans and broken pottery. They step out, and they immediately realize they're in Paris, specifically within the grounds of the majestic white dome of the Church of Sacré-Cœur.
But that moment of rest is fleeting. Alarms immediately begin to shriek. They've activated something ancient simply by passing through.
And this is the moment the modern world collides with ancient enmity, immediately triggering their pursuit. Enter Niccolò Machiavelli.
Described by Flamel very grimly as the most dangerous immortal in Europe. And this isn't just some ancient philosopher in a dusty library. He is the epitome of sophisticated contemporary power. He's wearing a perfectly tailored black silk Savile Row tuxedo, and in this current age, he holds a position of immense secular power as the current head of the DGSE.
The French Foreign Intelligence Service.
The French Foreign Intelligence Service, which immediately gives him access to surveillance, police, tactical units, all the tools of the modern state.
So Machiavelli, sitting in his luxurious limousine, he quickly analyzes the city map overlaid with the known Siki lines. He deduces that the group would have had to enter Paris at one of two high-power areas, the Great Cathedral of Notre Dame or Sacré-Cœur Basilica in Montmartre.
And right on cue, the howling alarms rising high above the rooftops confirm their exact location for him. It's a perfect blend of ancient knowledge and modern confirmation.
The sources show us Machiavelli is a fascinating hybrid of ancient ambition and modern paranoia. He's not relying on ancient books or parchment alone. He's utilizing the latest, most secure technology. He prefers to keep his powerful, world-altering spells and data on his hard drive, not in a dusty grimoire.
Which is a fantastic insight into the operational security of an immortal, right? He's adapted. And in a great little detail, we learned his password. Discorsi sopra la prima deca di Tito Livio.
That's a mouthful. Why is that password choice such a brilliant security measure, though? I mean, if you know who he is.
Well, that's the thing. As he notes to himself, it's one of his lesser-known books, a commentary on the first 10 books of Livy's History of Rome. It's specific, it's dense, and it's a historically relevant title that almost no one alive would ever guess, even if they knew he was Machiavelli. It emphasizes that this is a conflict where ancient power uses modern means, like data encryption, to ensure its longevity.
Right, and he's in constant communication with Dr. John Dee, the English magician. Dee is still, 14 or 15 hours away from Paris because his legate in Ojai was destroyed by the Witch of Endor.
And Dee is furious. He's raging, demanding that Flamel be found and the twins be captured. Dee's demands are very clear and chilling. He needs Flamel's knowledge, yes, but he really needs the twins themselves because of their unique auras.
Okay, let's get into that because it's a critical magical distinction. The twins possess pure, unawakened gold and silver auras. How is that different from someone like Flamel or Dee?
Well, the sources tell us that the auras of immortals like Flamel, Dee, or Machiavelli, they're ancient and powerful, but they're also muddied. They're clouded by centuries of use and the continual ingestion of the elixir of life. The twins' auras, on the other hand, are pristine, raw power. They're the perfect canvas for an elder to transfer immense knowledge or power onto, which is why they are so desperately coveted.
So they're basically blank, high-capacity hard drives.
A very good analogy, yeah. And Dee also insists that Machiavelli must kill Scathach because she is the primary physical deterrent. Dee admits bitterly that Sophie's powers were awakened by Hecate, and she was trained in the magic of air by the Witch of Endor. But he assures Machiavelli that, quote, untrained, the girl is no threat except perhaps to herself and those around her.
A pretty serious underestimation, as it turns out.
A huge one. Machiavelli takes this assessment to heart, though. His initial tactic is not to engage Flamel directly, which is always dangerous, but to stall them long enough for him to arrive with tactical support. So he creates a monster right there inside Sacré-Cœur. It is explicitly identified as a tulpa.
So let's pause and drill down on the tulpa. You noted this is key because Flamel confirms it's not a golem, which requires a spell cast directly on the physical body, like writing a word on clay or stone. How does a tulpa differ? And why is it Machiavelli's choice here?
A tulpa is essentially an entity created and animated entirely by the power of concentrated imagination and will. It requires immense focus. Machiavelli uses the material present in the church, all those huge banks of lit candles, to give it form, shaping the wax into a massive, terrifying creature.
So he's not creating it from nothing. He's using what's there.
Exactly. But the energy drain required to maintain a tulpa is immediate and severe, even for an immortal. It's a pure projection of power given physical form.
And the creature is massive.
Big.
Josh immediately panics, associating the bitter, stale odor of the melting wax with snakes, which triggers his intense phobia. But then we witnessed Sophie's first critical combat application of her newly awakened powers.
And she's struggling. She's trying to remember the specific incantations or secrets of the witch's air magic, but her raw, powerful silver aura is potent and, more importantly, instinctive.
So it's not a thought-out attack.
Not at all. It's a primal reaction. When her splayed hand presses against the chest of the immense wax tulpa, the huge electrical output of her silver aura, even raw and uncontrolled, is just too much for the constructed creature. It immediately melts, sizzling and hissing, reducing the creature to liquid wax that pools rapidly on the ancient stone floor.
She just annihilated it.
Instantly. Which proves Dee's assessment of her being no threat was laughably wrong.
But this immediate, overwhelming use of power has a critical side effect that Machiavelli is quick to spot. He arrives, surveying the scene of the rapidly cooling melted wax, and he breathes deeply, drawing in a distinctive scent lingering in the cool night air. Vanilla.
This is one of the most brilliant small details in the sources. Machiavelli notes that this vanilla scent is Sophie's distinctive signature scent. It's produced by the focusing of her massive electrical field, her aura interacting with her body's endorphins as she exerts extreme effort. It is a unique, natural, magical fingerprint.
That's a fascinating blend of science and magic.
Yeah.
It means that traditional surveillance is almost irrelevant. They don't need heat sensors or cameras. If Sophie uses her power, she leaves a literal, unforgettable scent trail that can be detected by any immortal with heightened senses.
Exactly. That makes her traceable even in the most crowded city in the world.
Okay, so Machiavelli arrives, absolutely exhausted from creating and maintaining that massive tulpa. while simultaneously driving through the winding, hilly streets of Montmartre.
Hmm.
This really confirms the sheer drain that raw elemental magic imposes even on a powerful immortal.
Oh, absolutely. He's panting, sweating. It's a real physical cost. Meanwhile, Flamel and company escape Sacré-Cœur under the cover of night, avoiding the gathering gendarme and French special forces Machiavelli has called in.
Machiavelli confronts them from the steps, but Flamel is already executing a layered escape plan. He maintains this casual, conversational tone with Machiavelli, calling him the master of lies. But behind his back, he and Skadak are communicating secretly using American Sign Language, ASL.
Which completely surprises the twins. And it's a perfect demonstration of Flamel's depth of planning, his centuries of experience living secretly among humans. He maintains eye contact and a casual demeanor with Machiavelli, while simultaneously using ASL, a language. Machiavelli, for all his intelligence, likely never bothered to learn to give scatty instructions.
It just underscores that the immortals who survive are those who adapt and hide in plain sight.
Right, and Flamel's assessment of his enemy's methods is so interesting here. He confirms Machiavelli's notorious reputation for deceit, the original political manipulator, but he notes that Dee is also a master of lies and half-truths, having practiced and perfected his craft during the incredibly dangerous paranoid time of the Elizabethan age.
Where a single misplaced word could mean execution.
Exactly. So the secret instructions, confirmed by the sources, direct Scatty to retreat with the twins immediately via an alternate route. Scavach, the shadow, puts her arms around them as they retreat, and their gold and silver auras crackle and spark with her touch.
What's happening there? Is she shielding them?
It seems to be more of a stabilizing energy. It emphasizes the profound physical and magical connection they share, almost like she's grounding their chaotic, raw power with her own ancient, disciplined aura.
Okay, so once they are out of immediate danger, we realize the steep price of Sophie's quick escape. She is severely fatigued, feeling, quote, exhausted physically and mentally, after using that massive burst of air magic to create thick fog to cover their retreat.
Yeah, and Flamel warns her that using magic constantly steals energy from the practitioner. And for a newly awakened mortal, the drain is catastrophic. She's basically running on empty.
But the physical drain is secondary to the mental catastrophe. Sophie now possesses the Witch of Endor's memories. We're talking thousands of years of experiences, thoughts, fears, desires, and recipes flooding her mind all at once. The mummy technique the witch used was incredibly dangerous.
It was. And let's clarify that technique. Was the witch transferring her entire consciousness or just knowledge? Because the sources mention phone numbers and pop songs. It's a strange mix.
It was a transfer of her entire lived body of knowledge, which includes the mundane, the magical, and the deeply personal. It's an uncontrolled, catastrophic data download. The witch wasn't just downloading spells, she downloaded her history as a person.
Which included specific, mundane details, like you said, phone numbers and addresses of people she'd never met, pictures from old TV shows, and yes, even the entire discography of Elvis Presley.
That's insane. The psychological intrusion must be overwhelming.
It is. It forces Sophie to struggle just to remember basic information vital to her own identity, like her own parents' faces and phone number. Her identity is being actively threatened by this torrent of inherited knowledge. It's not a power-up. It's a massive, chaotic data download that threatens to overwrite her own personality.
So Flamel, needing to strategize and find a safe haven, has to contact the Witch of Endor, or Dora Wycherley, for guidance. He uses the Ojai Valley News phone number that Sophie's new chaotic memories conveniently supplied.
And he poses as Monsieur Montmorency, a French reporter from Le Monde. It's another great example of his adaptability. The plan is highly strategic. Meet a trusted ally at the Eiffel Tower, the most public, visible distraction point in the entire city.
Flamel then leaves Skadak to guard the twins, instructing her to continue Sophie's training, awaken Josh if possible, and crucially, rescue his wife, Perenelle.
And his parting instruction to Skadak, if I die, tell her my ghost will find her. It just reveals the desperation of his emotional state. He knows death is imminent for him if the codex pages aren't returned.
Meanwhile, the sources give us a vital glimpse of Perenelle Flamel's parallel struggle in Alcatraz. She's trapped in a cell that Dee had secured with a monstrous sphinx, an ancient guardian that tests all who approach with riddles.
Right, but Perenelle has a special gift. The ability to hear and summon the residual ghosts of Alcatraz, the thousands of men who died there. She uses the guardian ghost named Dee Ayala, one of the former inmates, to help her escape her cell.
But the terror of her situation is magnified when she notices a chilling reality. Brown spots and new wrinkles are appearing on her skin. This is the first definitive physical evidence that the monthly dose of the immortality potion is wearing off.
And the formula for that potion is on the codex pages that Dee now has. It connects the two crises perfectly. Nicholas is risking everything to protect the formula that Perenelle now desperately needs to survive. She realizes that the Dark Elders are no longer interested in capturing them alive. They are now focused on destruction.
Which raises the threat level dramatically. The clock is ticking for both Flamels, confirming the existential nature of this deep dive.
So, following Flamel's calculated plan, Nicholas and the twins arrive at the Eiffel Tower, where they meet his former student and key ally, Le Comte de Saint-Germain, known to the world simply as Francis or Germain.
And this ally is a fascinating paradox of power. He's a fusion of old European aristocracy and modern celebrity. He is an alchemist specializing in jewels, a very specific, high-end and rare form of alchemy, but he's also a modern rock star.
A rock star with 5 #1 hits in the States and an MTV Europe Best Newcomer Award, a title Flamel finds highly amusing given Saint-Germain's age, which is several hundred years old.
Francis is the master of fire, and he has to create the perfect diversion to get them out of the center of Paris. He proves his title immediately in a really spectacular fashion. He says, "Know me. I am the Comte de Saint-Germain. I am the master of fire."
And he uses his tattooed arms, which have these tiny butterfly tattoos that spasm and shiver when he focuses his power, to manifest an endless stream of tiny red and white butterflies.
Okay, but why butterflies? Why not just a giant fireball?
Because it's an aesthetic display of controlled elemental magic. It's about flair as much as power. These butterflies, made of pure fire, circle and cover the entire Eiffel Tower structure, turning the metal into a shifting, shimmering tapestry of light.
And then he claps his hands.
He does, and the entire structure explodes into a spectacular but harmless fountain of light, color bronze, gold, green, blue, and fireworks. It's breathtaking, expensive, and crucially, completely non-lethal. It allows the twins and Flamel to just disappear into the massive crowd of onlookers who simply think they're watching an amazing, unscheduled light show.
And Machiavelli, watching from below, is highly impressed by the massive artistic distraction. But he also notices Nicholas Flamel hanging back, using the sudden huge crowd to cover the escape of his companions.
Right, but Machiavelli makes a critical analysis, noting that Saint-Germain is flamboyant and therefore predictable. This confirms for him that they have his known residences under observation. He knows where they're going.
The group retreats to Saint-Germain's opulent townhouse, where they encounter his wife, Joan, who immediately reveals her identity as Joan of Arc, La Pucelle, or the Maid of Orleans.
Who Scathach had rescued centuries ago, and Joan is an immortal human in her own right. Her aura is this unique silver lavender color, which she can solidify instantly into a complete suit of highly polished, reflective medieval armor, just ready for combat at a moment's notice.
Joan quickly becomes indispensable, tackling Sophie's mental crisis first. Joan has the unique ability to speak directly to the unconscious mind, a power she immediately applies while Sophie sleeps.
Right, she helps the girl categorize and separate her own memories from the Witch of Endor's thousands of years of overwhelming, chaotic experiences. She lifts the mental overload that had nearly incapacitated her identity.
So this is a vital moment of stabilization. Joan doesn't erase the memories.
No, she acts as a librarian. She's filing the ancient texts and knowledge away in Sophie's subconscious so she can access them when needed rather than drowning in them. And Joan also starts teaching Sophie how to consciously control and shape her silver aura. She shows her how to morph it from an electrical field into an articulated metal glove that quickly shifts into a raptor's claw before reverting back to flesh. It's about mental discipline and shaping that raw power.
So next up is practical elemental training. Saint-Germain instructs Sophie in the magic of fire on the roof garden. He emphasizes that fire is not just destructive, it is the most powerful element, driving civilization since Prometheus stole it.
And he criticizes the witch's reckless methods, noting that the mummy technique used to imbue her entire body of knowledge was incredibly dangerous and likely unnecessary just for the elemental magic itself.
So he gives her a different way to access it.
A much better way. Francis provides Sophie a simple, elegant trigger to focus her massive raw power. Pressing her thumb against a circle tattooed on her wrist instantly focuses her aura and brings the fire magic alive. This contrasts sharply with the frantic, exhausting wildcard energy Sophie used against the tulpa. Now she has a defined process.
But while Sophie is rapidly advancing, Josh remains stubbornly unawakened. He's still dependent on others and focuses on receiving rudimentary sword basics from a rather reluctant Scathach. But Nicholas Flamel, in a moment of utter desperation, gives Josh something far more significant. Clarent, the Sword of Fire.
And this is not just a sharp blade. Clarent is Excalibur's twin blade Excalibur, being the Sword of Ice, which Dee used recently to destroy the World Tree. The sources describe Clarent as an ancient, cursed blade that predates even the oldest elder races, implying its power is primal and uncontrollable.
This decision seems incredibly reckless, especially given the critique that the other mortals are terrified of it. Isn't Flamel putting Josh, an untrained, mortal teenager, in even greater danger by giving him this weapon that everyone is afraid of?
Oh, absolutely. The other immortals, Scathach, Joan, and Saint-Germain, are terrified of Clarent. They refuse even to touch the cursed blade. This highlights its immense, volatile, and deeply unpredictable power.
So why does he do it?
Desperation. Josh, still viewing himself as useless without powers, attempts to understand why Flamel has given him this responsibility. And here, we uncover the ultimate reason for Flamel's desperation: the Codex pages.
He confesses that he recovered 2 missing pages of the Codex, the Book of Abraham the Mage, that he had hidden centuries ago inside his own 15th century gravestone at the Musée de Cluny.
And here is the core MacGuffin, which we need to define clearly. Those pages are essential because they contain the specific, detailed formula for the elixir of life. This elixir is the source of Flamel and Perenelle's immortality and the means by which they maintain their power and youth. Without those pages, they both face rapid aging and death.
And in a high-risk, desperate act to keep the pages safe from both Dee and Machiavelli, Flamel reveals he gave the 2 pages to Josh.
His reasoning was stunningly simple and maybe flawed. Since Josh was unawakened, neither immortal nor elder, he wouldn't be perceived as a threat or a target. This choice, intended for safety, will quickly place Josh into the absolute gravitational center of the conflict, making him the #1 target.
Okay, so Dee is traveling fast, closing in. He coordinates with Machiavelli, and they quickly realize the group is at Saint-Germain's heavily warded house. Dee needs a definitive, lethal solution for Scathach, who is the main physical problem standing in their way.
And his solution is horrifying and ancient. Loose Nidhogg, the devourer of corpses. This is a primal, serpent-like monster that the elders themselves had locked away long ago in a dimensional prison.
To execute this plan, Dee calls in 3 Disser. We know them as Valkyrie Scathach's long-standing sworn enemies from the frozen Northlands.
Yeah, I arrived, transforming dramatically from young women in modern leather jackets into terrifying warriors clad in ice-white chainmail, and they cast powerful runes near the gate to call Nidhogg through the dimensional rift.
The siege begins. Nidhogg, a colossal serpent-like creature, just crashes into the house, destroying Saint-Germain's beautiful kitchen and terrifying the group.
And Joan immediately solidifies her silver lavender aura into her medieval armor and engages the heavily armed Disser. Sophie attempts to use her new fire magic, but she's struggling to control the intensity and shape of the focused flame.
But the crucial moment belongs to Josh. Josh harbors a childhood, bone-chilling phobia of snakes. He reacts instinctively, desperately striking Nidhogg's massive tail with Clarent, the cursed Sword of Fire.
And the consequences are immediate and terrifying. The surprisingly heavy blade barely touches the serpent's hide, but the wound instantly burns bright red and begins to harden into a black lava-like crust.
But it's more than a physical wound, right?
Much more. Critically, Josh is shocked as he glimpses Nidhogg's consciousness, the consciousness of a millennia-old monster which he perceives as a blasted, fiery wasteland. This confirms that Clarent is not just cutting the creature, it's affecting it on a primal, elemental level.
Josh realizes Clarent the Sword of Fire is the only weapon that can truly hurt the devourer of corpses. But before he can act further, Nidhogg escapes, Scathach's limp form gripped in its massive claws, carrying her away to the north.
Josh, determined to save her, follows, but is intercepted by Dee and Machiavelli, who have arrived in a battered police car. Dee instantly recognizes the blade in Josh's hand, Clarent, the twin of Excalibur.
With the twins separated, Dee finally has what he needs, Josh, and consequently the 2 missing Codex pages.
Exactly. Dee and Machiavelli quickly take Josh deep into the catacombs of Paris, the chilling empire of the dead, a labyrinth of 170 miles of tunnels filled with the stacked remains of 6 million bodies, a place that immediately triggers Josh's intense claustrophobia and terror.
They lead Josh to the deepest part of the catacombs, far beneath the modern city, into the ruins of the lost Roman city of Lutetia. This is where Mars Ultor, the elder god of war, known historically by names like Ares, Nergal, or Huitzilopochtli, is encased, frozen in stone, in a state of self-imposed magical stasis.
and Dee demands that Mars awaken Josh, but Mars refuses to be commanded by Dee. He's not a tool.
No, Mars' alter is an elder with immense moral authority. He delivers a chilling warning, reminding Dee that the awakening must be Josh's conscious, chosen decision.
And he warns that the process heightens all senses and emotions, even negative ones like hate, fear, and aggression, which ultimately destroyed his own sons, Romulus and Remus. He describes the process not as a gift, but as an uncontrollable risk that can destroy the recipient.
So the god of war is telling Josh that power is inherently dangerous and self-destructive. But Josh agrees to the price. He is determined to gain the power to fight back and save his sister and friends. Mars grants him the awakening using his massive, ancient sword to tap Josh's shoulders.
The transformation is instantaneous and visually overwhelming. Josh's eyes turn solid gold. Golden tears stream down his face, and smoke and saffron-colored mist stream from his mouth and ears as his senses are heightened beyond human comprehension.
But Mars isn't finished. He then gives Josh an additional mysterious gift by placing his hand on Josh's head, resulting in an explosive burst of light and yellow fire that scorches Dee, driving the English magician back.
Right, and what exactly was that gift? The sources describe it as an influx of knowledge that wasn't personal, unlike what Sophie experienced.
So it's not memories.
It doesn't seem to be, no. The sources strongly imply that while Sophie inherited the witch's personal memories and emotional history, Mars gave Josh strategic, scientific, or tactical knowledge. Josh, the one who is more logical and focused on science and chemistry, needed a mental framework, not a flood of pop culture. The gift seems to be a glimpse into the structural mechanics of the universe, a memory of an ancient city crumbling, a deep understanding of elemental composition, its practical, destructive, analytical knowledge.
Which perfectly complements his logical mind.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Sophie, guided by her deep twin connection, follows the bright, impossible golden aura trail of her now-awakened brother, racing with Flamel, Joan, and Saint-Germain into the catacombs. She races into the chamber, recognizing the elder god immediately due to the influx of the witch's knowledge.
This is Sophie's true advantage. Inherited lore as tactical leverage.
Exactly. She confronts Mars' altar, recalling the witch's memories that Mars was once Huitzilopochtli, the mighty Aztec champion of humankind who led human slaves to safety and freedom. She uses this critical ancient history as leverage, demanding Josh's release by reminding Mars of his oath to protect humanity.
And then she does something extraordinary, utilizing her inherited knowledge to fight an elder god.
Oh?
She performs an incredibly risky maneuver.
An incantation found in the witch's memories to lift the stone curse on Mars. This causes the elder god to instantly soften and meld into a viscous yellow-green liquid bone, freezing him in place when Dee reappears and quickly uses transmutation magic to harden the liquid again.
So they immobilize him.
Yes, and though Dee and Machiavelli escape, having succeeded in awakening Josh and critically securing the codex pages, they have failed to capture Flamel or the twins. The power shift is complete.
Dee and Machiavelli flee the catacombs and head to Notre Dame Cathedral for their final attempt to eliminate their pursuers. Now at the quayside near the cathedral, they use their elder command to bring the grotesque statues and gargoyles carved into the medieval stonework to lumbering, terrifying life. Machiavelli gives the stone creatures the chilling command to kill them all.
And this is a near impossible challenge. The sources indicate that the gargoyles are invulnerable to simple steel and standard elemental magic, essentially creating an impenetrable stone army.
But Josh, recovering from the trauma of the awakening and utilizing his new golden awakened sight and that influx of non-personal tactical knowledge from Mars, is the one who finds the solution.
He accesses that mysterious gift, recalling the memory of an ancient city crumbling to dust, which provides the critical clue. The gargoyles are made of porous, weathered stone. They have structural weaknesses that cannot be fixed by magic alone.
So Josh, the one who prefers PC science basic chemistry over mech's magic, directs the final coordinated attack. He's applying scientific principles to elemental chaos.
That's a great way to put it. He shouts for Francis to create extreme heat, which must be followed instantly by Sophie's extreme cold.
Francis, the master of fire, bathes the stone creatures in intense white-hot fire, melting and structurally weakening the ancient stone. Then Sophie, utilizing her air magic now fully focused and shaped, lets loose subarctic winds and icy fog, dropping the temperature instantaneously.
The synergy is devastating. The combined elemental magic heat followed by rapid extreme cold boosted by Joan and Flamel lending their auras to the twins just shatters the stone creatures into nothing but gritty dust.
And this display of power fulfills the ancient prophecy of the gold and silver twins. They stand together, their auras entwined, gold and silver intermixed, with traces of Joan's armored discipline visible, fulfilling the prophecy. The two that are one.
It's a terrifying demonstration of seemingly inexhaustible, newly controlled power, and it leaves Flamel wondering for the first time if awakening them had been the correct decision. His fear, clearly stated, is that their power is now so vast and chaotic that it could potentially control, reshape, or even destroy the world.
Dee and Machiavelli escape Notre Dame, realizing the scale of the threat the twins now pose. But Machiavelli executes a stunning, character-defining betrayal.
Absolutely. He reveals he secretly recorded their entire conversation on a voice-activated digital tape recorder. Dee had been carelessly threatening and insulting Machiavelli, making serious promises and potential betrayals known.
This is pure Machiavelli, using the most modern technology, not a quill and parchment, to secure his political future. He plans to use this audio recording as decisive evidence against Dee, whom he clearly despises, to present to the Dark Elders.
Right, ensuring his own survival and potentially eliminating his rival. Machiavelli's final assessment is sobering. The twins, barely trained yet capable of such destruction, are the central problem. He suggests to Dee that they must immediately pool their extraordinary resources against Flamel and his allies if they hope to succeed.
And our sources wrap up the parallel story of Perenelle in Alcatraz, showing that her fight was equally spectacular and high stakes. She defeated the Crow Goddess, Morrigan, and her army of monstrous dire crows.
She did this using the assistance of a massive ancient spider elder named Ariop-Inap and a spear inscribed with words of power that transmuted the attacking birds into perfect eggs. Ariop-Inap delighted in calling the resulting pile breakfast. It was a victory of pure alchemy and ancient power.
Even after this victory, Perenelle is shocked to see the signs of rapid aging. The brown spots and wrinkles she noticed earlier have intensified, confirming the formula for their immortality potion is rapidly wearing off.
She realizes grimly that she is truly dying, but her resilience shines through as she states, "A lot can happen in a few days," meaning she will fight to the very last moment.
So we've seen a truly relentless global chase unfold. Stunning new alliances forged in fire and steel, Joan of Arc, the Master of Fire, and the Shadow Warrior all combining forces. And we've witnessed the terrifying realization that these teenage American twins are now a chaotic, inexhaustible source of world-changing power.
The chase through Paris has done more than just relocate the twins. It has irrevocably altered them and the world's power balance. The fate of humankind now hinges on who controls the twins, and whether Sophie and Josh can integrate the thousands of years of inherited knowledge, the emotional burden of the witch's memories, and the tactical weight of Mars's gift.
Right, they have to master this highly volatile elemental magic and overcome the emotional turmoil caused by their catastrophic awakening.
And Flamel's greatest fear is not just that they will be captured, but that their power is too vast, too uncontrolled, and that it could potentially control, reshape, or even destroy the world.
The sources make it clear that the twins, now awakened, realize that every fairy tale and myth they grew up with has a basis in reality, even the scary ones. Considering Josh and Sophie's new reality, now that they know Huitzilopochtli and Mars Ultra are the same entity and that Joan of Arc still walks the earth, what ancient legend or myth, dismissed by modern history, do you think they should investigate next to truly understand the hidden dark history of their world?